In this lecture, I am going to cover three major areas. The first is I'm going to go over one of the lesson plans that you submitted. And I picked a real good one that someone submitted, and I just want to go over it piece by piece. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss what a unit plan is. And now, a unit plan, of course, is multiple lesson plans in one big unit. I'm going to show you what we need to look at and what mistakes we need to avoid making when we look at unit plans. And the last is I'm going to introduce to you the electronic database known as TaskStream, which will make building lesson plans easier and less time consuming. It's just going to be very quick. And that's what we're going to do. And let's go ahead and begin by looking at one of the lesson plans submitted. Alright, so this will be one of the lesson plans we're going to look at that was submitted by a student. You'll see it says day 1, subject algebra, grade level 8th grade, and the unit is linear equations. So let's just look at objective number 1 and how they wrote this objective. It states the student will determine the slope of a line given 2 points with a minimum of 70% accuracy. So obviously we see an issue with this is the double word, the slope, which is no big deal. It's just grammar. So if we would go ahead and delete that, then this would be a very well worded objective. The student will determine the slope of a line given 2 points with a minimum of 70% accuracy. In parentheses, you see Bloom's evaluation, DOK 4, CC 8, which is Common Core, 8.F.4. So they've aligned with the Common Core standards for mathematics. When you read this objective, it says the student will determine the slope of the line given 2 points with a minimum of 70% accuracy. What I then do is I look at the assessment, and you'll see the assessment says a graded worksheet with a teacher answer sheet. See Appendix 3. Now this is an alignment of an objective with an assessment. When I look at these two areas, I say, okay, the student will determine the slope and it's going to be on a graded worksheet. Really easy to do, and that's an assessment aligned with an objective. So now let's go look at this assessment. It says see Appendix 3. Directions. Find the slope of the given points. Be sure to show all your work. We have 3.4, 1.2, and then so in this worksheet we're seeing that they're being given 2 points. So with a minimum of 70% accuracy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it'd be 20 points each. So 20, 40, 60. So in order for the student to master this objective, they will need to get 3.5 of these correct, or common sense would say they need to get 4 of these 5 problems correct. So this is a really good alignment of an objective with an assessment and a graded rubric and a graded assignment. One possible weakness of this objective would be the fact that a student cannot get 70% of the assignment unless you're giving partial credit, which is teacher discretion. And that's up to them. You could make this 60% accuracy or 80% accuracy, and that would give you a strong, they have to get so many right out of so many, or you could just grade partially. So that's just splitting hairs on that. So very good objective alignment with assessment. The next thing we look at are the procedures. In procedures, it says lecture concerning how to determine the slope given 2 points, 15 minutes. Provide worksheet. Review directions, 5 minutes. Materials, Prezi, see Appendix 1, and then there's a worksheet, see Appendix 2. So if I scroll down, I've got a Prezi here, and I don't have to open this up, but the person who did this it's kind of cool how they did this. They attached the Prezi as a file into, which you can do with Prezi. You don't have to do that. You can just put the web link, but they actually attached the Prezi into the Word document as a file. I like the art too, the formulas. Just a very good Prezi, very clean Prezi assessment. So I like that. So materials, Prezi, and worksheet, see Appendix 2. We go to our worksheet, directions, real easy. The only issue we'd have with the worksheet would be there's no point value for each question. So you need to make sure you put a point value for each question. As we look at remediation, we see the student, so let's look at our remediation objective. The student will recall the slope formula of a line with no errors. Bloom's knowledge, DOK1, Common Core 8.F.3. So now we look at graded worksheet. We look at the assessment. All right, so apparently the student is not able to determine the slope. So let's just see if the student can recall the slope formula. Very straightforward remediation objective. So under assessment, we have graded worksheet, teacher answer sheet, see Appendix 6. So let's go to the Appendix 6. Answer the following questions. What are two things? What letters used to represent slope? What is another way to express the slope formula? Write the slope formula given the points 2 and 3, find the slope. So this is a remediation worksheet. Very good. Very good. Now, when we look at the procedures, we see lecture on reviewing the slope formula. So in my mind, if a student is not doing well with Objective 1, or if they come in and they haven't done well in Objective 1, then we're going to do a remediation break apart, where we lecture on viewing the slope formula for 10 minutes. We provide the worksheet, which is Appendix 5, and we review the directions 5 minutes, and we do the Prezi. They also add a Prezi presentation just for review of slope. Very good. I'm impressed with that. Number 6, we have a formatting issue on 6, which is no big deal. It's called enhancement. We need to reword that to enrichment. The student will write an equation in slope-intercept form given 2 points with a minimum of 70% accuracy. Bloom's knowledge, DOKs, that's fine. What we see here is we see an objective which has a higher Bloom's than the enrichment. And we had discussed this during our Saturday class. But yes, it is very much possible to have an enrichment objective which has a lower Bloom's than, or a DOK than the objective. This is more complicated material, and in all likelihood, this is material that's advanced for that day. So it's probably something they're going to have to do in a couple of days. The lecture concerning how to write an equation in slope-intercept form, provide worksheet, review directions. Prezi presentation, the student did a Prezi presentation just for the enrichment. They did a worksheet, and then they have the graded worksheet. So if we scroll down to the worksheet, which is worksheet 8, see Appendix 8. Slope-intercept form worksheet, directions for writing an equation in slope-intercept form given the following points. Be sure to show all your work. And then we have that. Once again, we have the issue of 20 points percentage each. So how are we going to get 70%? Well, I guess we could do partial credit. But you may want to define that by giving directions that state you're going to give partial credit, or stating in your directions how much each one is worth point-wise. So, as I look at this submitted assignment by this student, I see a very good lesson plan, and I see, and what we look at is the connection between the objectives and the assessments. And that's what we always want is, are your objectives being assessed? So if you're giving an assessment that is very broad and covers a lot of objectives, you need to make sure you identify that. But this person in this particular case decided to do 3. They really broke each objective separate, almost to the point where they gave, they gave lectures for each objective. Now, what I would want to see in a unit plan would be, could you do remediation enrichment without having to do separate lessons altogether, separate prezzies altogether? Could you somehow merge those into extra projects? But overall, this is a great lesson plan. I would fix the assessment issues, which are just the wording on the assignments, how much point values, but just a really strong lesson plan, and stronger than I expected from a day 1 graduate MAT student. So I'm very impressed, and this is just reviewed one of the lesson plans. All right, let's look at one more lesson plan from another student. And this lesson plan, the subject is biology, 10th grade, and the unit is mitosis versus meiosis. So as we look at objective number 1, it states the student will differentiate between the type of cell reproduction with 100% accuracy. Now they're saying that this is a Bloom's evaluation, a DOK3, and a Mississippi State Framework 4B for science. So let's look at the assessment now and see how that differs or how that's going to reinforce the objective. The assessment says to grade the worksheet, teacher rubric, see Appendix 3. Now before we slide down, let's look at the procedure. Lecture on the main events in the cell cycle and cell mitosis. Use textbooks to answer questions on worksheets, 15 minutes. Now, as we look at the worksheet, which will be Appendix 3, let's see how it differs between the type of cell reproduction with 100% accuracy. And as we scroll down, we do not see an Appendix 3. So there would be an issue right there. So I'm not seeing an assessment connected to that objective, especially on the rubric. The procedure, lecture on the main events in the cell cycle and cell mitosis, would raise the question, why are we not lecturing between mitosis and meiosis? Why are we looking at just the cell cycles? And so this would be a disconnect between an assessment and objective because there isn't a Appendix 3. For the remediation, the student will describe the roles of mitotic and meiotic division with 70% accuracy. Of course, if you remember from our previous lecture, we need to have a minimum of 70% accuracy, not just 70% accuracy, because what if someone gets 71%? You'll notice here also that the author of this lesson plan listed Bloom's 1, which is not a level. Bloom's knowledge, you need to look at the Bloom's levels, and DOK1. So this is an issue of, this is an example of the student not understanding Bloom's. You'll also see there's no procedures, materials, or an assessment for this remediation. In enrichment, so this would be in summary, this remediation would not meet any marks. Enrichment, the student will compare and contrast the cell cycle of mitosis and meiosis with 80% accuracy. Once again, we have the need for a minimum of 80% accuracy, and you'll see we have Bloom's 2 DOK2, which shows once again a lack of understanding of Bloom's, and also there is no connection with Mississippi State Framework. They connected the Mississippi State Framework with Objective 1. We also see no procedures, no materials, and no assessments. As we look at we look at the only appendix, which is Appendix 1, which is referenced in the material section, we see a PowerPoint when the directions clearly stated that a Prezi was going to be needed. So, this would be an unsuccessful attempt at a lesson plan. And that's all I have to say about that. All right, so this is actually a better production of our time by going over students' work. So let's look at a third one to see, to give feedback as we do this. This says lesson plans, day 1, subject, science, grade level 5th, unit blank. All right, so don't really know why the unit is blank. So let's look at the objective. So obviously we have some issues just up top here. This should say lesson plan, obviously, and there needs to be a unit here. You need to have a name of your unit. Objective, the student will differentiate the similarities, differences between plant and animal cells with 100% accuracy. All right, Bloom's evaluation, DOK 3. So the student will differentiate the similarities and differences between plant and animal cells with 100% accuracy. Okay, so in my mind, I'm thinking I understand what the students are going to be doing now. We have an issue. We do not have alignment with state standards. There's no Mississippi State framework. There's no Common Core. There is no Common Core for science, so we need a Mississippi State framework. Procedures. Lecture concerning the differences between plant and animal cells, 30 minutes. All right, so we're going to put a 30-minute lecture on 5th graders about the differences. Provide handouts, review directions, 10 minutes. 10 minutes to review directions. So is this teacher telling me that it's going to take 10 minutes, 600 seconds to review directions? Okay, there's an issue with that. Directions should be 2 minutes. Materials, PowerPoint, see Appendix 1. Handout, see Appendix 2. Assessment, graded handout, teacher rubric, see Appendix 3. Okay, so I'm on board with this. So let's go and look at this handout. Now remember, when we scroll down, we're looking for an assignment that will allow the student to differentiate the similarity between plant and animal cells with 100% accuracy. So that's what we're looking for. All right, so Appendix 1 is the PowerPoint. The student did attach a PowerPoint. Very good. Appendix 2, animal and plant cells. So this appendix is where? The handout is Appendix 2. Okay. Plant, animal. Appendix 3. Okay, I'm lost now. What are we doing? It says right here, provide handouts. Handouts, see Appendix 2. Okay, so the students will differentiate the similarities and differences between plant and animal cells. Handout, see Appendix 2. So if I go to Appendix 2, I have 2 cells that are drawn and labeled. And then Appendix 3 is a rubric. Label each part of the cell. They're already labeled. Colorful and neat. 20. What? Colorful. What are you talking about? This is not an assignment. This is, you've given the students the correct answers. So this is a complete disconnection between an assessment and an objective. Now, of course, the counter would be, oh, I was supposed to give a blank. Yeah, you're supposed to give a blank worksheet. You're supposed to give an assignment. And now we get into the back part, which is the easiest part to grade. Where is the remediation? Where is the enrichment? And you look back to the first lesson plan we went over, which had those. So this would be an example of not a successful lesson plan. The objective was well thought out. We're going to do this. I see where we're going. The procedures, not so much. They were kind of just thrown in there, and we're just going to do that. And the materials is where you lost it, and then the assessment, completely disconnected. So a good start for an objective, but it kind of went off the rails because there wasn't much thought on how we're going to do this and how I'm going to evaluate this. And also there's no remediation enrichment, which makes, that's 2/3 of the whole assignment. Okay, one last one. I promise this is the last one. Let's look at lesson plan day 1, subject theater 2, grade level 10th grade, unit Elizabethan theater. So the objective, number 1, the learner will investigate William Shakespeare's Hamlet with a strong understanding of the play. Okay, so what have we missed out on this objective? And that is the real simple part, level of mastery. There's no level with 80%, with 70%, with key factors. Refer to the first lecture, video recorded on YouTube, last part on how to write lesson plans. Bloom's analysis, DOK 3, Mississippi State Framework 3.8, good. That's really good. So let's look at, let's just go through the objectives. Remediation. The learner will summarize the plot of William Shakespeare's Hamlet with a minimum of 5 key plot points. Good. What did we miss on this one? Where's your Mississippi State Framework? So we've got Mississippi State Framework on 1, but I don't have Mississippi State Framework on remediation. Number 3, the enrichment. The learner will compare William Shakespeare's Hamlet with Disney's Lion King with a minimum of 5 examples. Bloom's evaluation, DOK 4, no Mississippi State Framework. All right, so it's the little things that we always forget. This is a student who, in the first objective, this student wrote a very good objective but forgot the level of mastery. In the remediation and in the enrichment, they remembered the level of mastery but forgot the Mississippi State Framework. It's the little things that will end up dinging your grades. Procedure should be procedures, handout scripts, group reading, lecture with discussion, assignment, homework, at-home reading, and worksheet. All right. You see from the first lesson plan we looked at, this student wrote very good objectives, but when they got to the procedures, they kind of stopped. And the reason is you need to divide your procedures among all of your objectives. You need to have separate procedures. All right, so for example, handout scripts. Scripts for what? What are these scripts? You got materials for that? Group reading, okay, it says material scripts. All right, group reading, 20 minutes. So this is a 50-minute class, and all I've got documented is 35 minutes. So the procedures here are clearly lacking. There's no differentiation between remediation and enrichment. There's no identification of those. There's no what we need to do. So you'd put, what I would do is I would word my procedures up, and then I would draw a line here. And I would say, and then I would document that way. Or you can drop this sentence here and just do remediation. Remediation, and then you start doing that. Now, if you're going to identify the remediation the next day, that's fine. You would just go back there. And this remediation will be pretty easy. You would say, so, proceed. And then I do an enrichment as well. Materials, scripts, worksheets, see Appendix 1. Now, all right. Assessment, graded worksheet, grade based on completion. Assessment, teacher graded rubric, see Appendix 2. Assessment, teacher graded rubric, see Appendix 3. So, for this page right here, very good objective. Procedures, not good. Materials, vague. I need them lined up. You should have more materials than this. I see worksheet, see Appendix 1. What about the worksheet for remediation? What about the worksheet for enrichment? Where are all these worksheets? And the assessment, good, but it's all going to be connected to what I see when I scroll down. So as I scroll down, let's see what we see. Appendix 1, worksheet, to be or not to be. Okay, no worksheet. The person just put Appendix 1. They didn't include a worksheet. Okay, you're supposed to make the worksheet. This is, you got to prepare for class. Appendix 2, rubric, nothing. Okay. And Appendix 3, rubric, nothing. Now, the question you'd say, the response would be, I did not know we were supposed to do that. But if you listen back to the lecture, that's not true. So this is an example of very good start, poor finish. So that's what we do with lesson plans. So hopefully we went over 4 lesson plans now, and we saw a really good one at the front. I mean, they nailed it, and they spent a lot of time on it, and that's the key, is they spent a lot of time on it. And then we saw several other ones that missed a lot of stuff, and several other ones that just didn't, okay, let's be honest. When did you start the assignment? Probably Saturday, due Saturday. So you definitely want to get on it and really nail it. But the good thing is, you can. I put in Blackboard where you can resubmit these. So if you don't get full points, you can try again. I give everyone 1 mulligan on the first assignment. So if you didn't do right, you can try again. So that's how that works. So let's go into the next part of the lecture. Okay, so what we need to do now is just understand the theoretical framework of a unit plan. Remember, a unit plan is 10 days of lesson plans. So that's what we're looking at when we do a unit plan. So obviously you have day 1, and then it continues on all the way to 10. And on and on and on. So what you're wanting with a unit plan is, what is your title? You need to have a unit that will be able to sustain and function through 10 days. You really do not want to have a unit on, for example, if we're looking at history, you don't want a unit on the Bay of Pigs, or you don't want to have a unit on 9/11, because 9/11, if you look at just 9/11 on the first day, that's going to be hard to do 10 days on. Now, you may want to do a unit on the War on Terror, which looks at 9/11, the Benghazi attacks, and all the other areas. But to do a 10-day unit on a very minute topic is going to be hard to do. So you want to make your unit big enough. Now, you can do a unit on 9/11. Let's make sure we're clear on that one. You can do a unit on the Bay of Pigs, but it's going to have to be so in-depth over every detail that we would ask the question, why are you spending 10 days on one Bay of Pigs invasion? Now, we have history classes like that, and we have science classes like that in college. We'll have history classes about just U.S. history 1911 and 1945. You're talking about an entire semester over 30 years. So you can do that, but you've got to have so much material on that one. So it can be done. The real world, though, a principal may ask you, why are you spending 10 days on mitosis, on one thing? So you really want to pick your unit to be what you can do over 10 days. So history examples would be units for World War I and the Cold War. You could do World War I and the fight for peace, the Civil War and the beginning of Reconstruction. You could possibly do a 10-day unit on the Civil War. That's up to you, but you need to look at what you want to do and how you want to do it. So you really need to plan out your unit and plan it out well. So here's how I always start a unit: is I'll go, okay, what do I want to teach? Now, when I'm teaching high school, you're really constrained to the Mississippi State framework, but also to the textbook. But however, when you're making these unit plans up, especially for this class, I would make a unit on whatever I was really into, and something that I could spend a lot of time on and really, get this done right. Now, you're looking at a lesson plan probably taking about 2 hours to do, so a good unit's going to take you probably 20 hours or a really good weekend. But let me show you how to do a unit plan and how to do it very efficiently. One thing is, well, you already know how to do the lesson plans, and you know the basic idea and concept of a lesson plan. So what you want to do is you want to have a unit plan where it goes from day to day on all your lesson plans. So that's all a unit plan is day to day. Now let's look at some mistakes that people make in unit plan building. Well, the first thing you want to do is you need to plan it. So step 1 is always to plan. And this includes your title, and this includes your flow, as I call it. What lesson plan will follow the next lesson plan? So if you're doing it, are you doing it chronological? When you're looking at Shakespeare, how are you going to introduce certain books? You're going to do Romeo and Juliet first. How are you going to do this? That's what we're looking at. Now math is easier because math has building blocks. You have to learn one math to go to the next one. So that's good. And also history is easy because you can always fall back on chronology. You can always look at just time. But you really need to plan it yourself. How are you going to want to do this? How are you going to want to bounce? And so really sit down and plan it. So I'll just give you an example. Let's look at the Cold War. Let's do a unit on the Cold War. So I would start with end of World War II. I'd start with end of World War II, and I would just lay that out. So where do I want to end this on my last day? Well, I probably want to end this with a unit exam. So that's my day 10. I'm going to have a unit test where we cover all the material over the Cold War, and I'm giving everybody a test. So there's my day 1 and my day 10 complete. So what else do I need to do? Well, I definitely want to get to the fall of the Berlin Wall. So with end of World War II, I need to also go with the rise of the Berlin Wall and the airlift. All right. So I'm now just plugging these in. I don't know if these are right. I have no notes on this, so we're just going from this. So we can look at Carter. Vietnam's big. And the fight. Now, I'm not going to spend an entire day on Vietnam because you could probably spend about 2 or 3 days on Vietnam easily. So I'm just going to talk about our involvement in Vietnam and why we got involved, not the Tet Offensive, not all of that. That may be something I want to break apart from there. But with that said, looking at it, let's do Vietnam Part 1 and Vietnam Part 2. Absolutely. Let's do the space race. Oh, that's good. Let's do Eisenhower and Kennedy. So that would be my 10 days. Now, I'm not looking at the Watergate scandal. I'm not looking at all this stuff. I'm looking at the Cold War and our foreign relations with these. So there's my 10 days. So what I've done is spend about 5 minutes and I've planned this out. So then you want to look at this and you go, okay, what can I teach? How can I teach that? And is any of this stuff going to be not fun to teach? So that's what you really want to plan out. Now this comes back to where your content knowledge is and how you know your material and you know your stuff. So if you know your material and you know your stuff, then you got this. But if you don't know what the Berlin Wall and how it fell and the symbolism of it, then there's an issue with that. So what am I going to do? Carter. See, just looking at this, Carter, and then I'd put enter Reagan. And I'll also want to look at Gorbachev and his relationship. So that's whichever you want to do with that. So there's a nice 10-day unit plan on the Cold War. And you can do this with any of your lesson plans. You just got to sit down and think. So as an alternate route teacher, many alternate route teachers go, can I do this? Yes, it's your subject. You can teach what you want to teach. It's your class. But what about state tests? Well, we'll get to that later. But right now we're looking at academic freedom, and you're able to teach what you want to teach. Now, the next thing is critical. It's critical. Flow of assessments. Now, if you take nothing away from this unit but one thing, please listen at this point forward. You need to decide how you're going to do your assessments. Now, let me give you examples. Of all of your days, you're going to have objectives, remediation, enrichment. Now, do you want to make this clean and have your objectives and your assessments measured every day? So, for example, you would say the students will draw the Berlin Wall with 100% accuracy. and you'll have students do homework and then they'll turn it in the next day and it's done. That objective is done. Or do you want it to say this? Students will analyze the impact of the Berlin Wall with 100% accuracy. Assessment unit test. Now, do you want to? You have the right to put some of these objectives on the unit exam. Be wary when you put a lot of your objectives that are going to be assessed on the unit exam. Then when you write the unit exam, you have to show how you're aligning those up with the objectives. Now, it's good to do that. Now, the next question people always ask is, do I even have to have a unit exam? Can I just do a day 10 closure and do objectives for that day? That is absolutely up to you. You can do a unit exam where you can measure some of these objectives, or you can do no unit exam and just do a 10th day lesson. So in that case, you would do lessons learned from, can't spell, lessons learned from the cohort. So I would have no unit plan on here because I'm measuring my assessments every day. That's up to the teacher. You can do however you want to do that. In all my classes, we've kind of shied away from the use of unit exams as major pivotal components of a unit. The reason is it's easier just to measure every day. You know, you have your objective, you have your enrichment, you have your mediation per objective, and you're just nailing those every day. It's easier to measure those every day through homework, through projects, however you want to do that. So it's easier to do that than to put them all on unit tests. But also, do not use a unit test and put every objective on that unit test. That would be weighting your unit test too much. You can do that, but when you do that, you're looking at a major comprehensive exam, a lot of stress, and when you're trying to write the test up, you're going to have to show in an answer key how every one of those are aligned up. You can do that with a test matrix, but my advice to you would be to measure your objectives every day. If you want to use a unit test, probably measure about 3 or 4 of your objectives on that, and that's all. So that's how I do a unit plan, and that is what a unit plan is. You're looking at a 10-day unit where you're covering whatever major theme you want to cover. And it's just like you're doing your lesson plans, except you're doing 10 of them. Real easy. So things that people do really well on is they just, once you start getting those lesson plans done and you get this laid out, it all comes together pretty fast. And you can just sit down and knock it all out. Where people make mistakes on unit plans is the key area that people make mistakes on in unit plans is they mess up on their daily lesson plans. They take daily lesson plan and they forget to add state framework on every objective throughout it. So they forget how to do that first part, and then they make that mistake over and over and over again. They forget to put DOK over and over and over again. They don't connect their assessments over and over and over again. So if you do each objective individually and you just connect them through, then it works very well. So that is what a unit plan is. The last part of this lecture will be showing you how to make it through task string. All right, so this is generally when people go, oh man, task stream, why haven't we been using this all the time? So if you'll recall, we learned how to do lesson plans and objectives doing the basic Microsoft Word, create your own columns, and do it this way. So we've learned the 4 key elements: materials, assessments, procedures, and objectives. We learned how to line them up with Mississippi State frameworks as well as Common Core and our national standards. We've also learned how to add rubrics and attachments and to add prezzies and PowerPoints and such as that. This can be very difficult when you use Microsoft Word. So from this point forward, I want you to don't think that I'm teaching you anything new to add to your lesson plans. This is what's called task stream, and this is how to make lesson plans even easier. We do not have a textbook for this class. However, everyone will have to start making lesson plans and objectives and unit plans through TaskStream, so you will need to buy a subscription to this. If you're going to continue your education career at Mississippi State University, then you will be doing TaskStream a lot. There is a subscription to this. It's a 6-month or a 1 year. I would highly recommend the 1 year subscription. I think they give you a little bit of a discount for doing 1 year, but also this is what you really need. This is what you need for lesson plan building. So let's go into this. I've already got an account, so I'm not going to show you how to sign up for an account, but TaskStream is real simple and it's real easy. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And then I'm in. Now, I want to tell you what TaskStream is real quick. TaskStream is two things. One is TaskStream is a folio program. Now, what a folio program is whenever we, as teachers, want to create classes, and we can have you submit your assignments into TaskStream. We will not be doing that in this class. But other classes such as Dimensions and such as just other classes you'll be taking they'll say you have to have a TaskStream requirement, a subscription, and you'll have to do submissions to TaskStream. But so many students go, oh, okay, I've got to subscribe to TaskStream just to submit work. That's fine, it happens. But when you subscribe to TaskStream, you get something extra, and that is this tab right here. This lessons, units, and rubrics. This is what you get, even though we're not going to be doing any response folios in here. This is something that you get as a student that is amazing when it comes to lesson plans. So if you click on that, you'll notice something. So I'm going to go back to my home page and walk through what I've clicked on. I have clicked on lessons, units, and rubrics right there. Easy. So this is what you will get to see. So don't worry about anything else. This is what you're paying for, and this is what's worth it, especially since you've done the Microsoft Word component. One thing is you have the rubric wizard. This allows you to create rubrics for your class, and you can create rubrics however you want to. Let's just look at that briefly and play around with that. So if you go to the rubric wizard, it'll say these are all rubrics that people have shared with me. Or you can create a new blank rubric right here. You can create a new blank rubric, and you can add a rubric to that, and it'll ask you how many columns that you want. So if I'm doing a lesson, and it's just really play around with this if you want to. It's really good, and you can create rubrics and you can add them. And so let's just create a blank rubric. So I'll do Cold War assessments. Let's do essay rubric. Now here's the one thing that always has trouble with. You need to decide how many columns you want before you even do it. So if I think about columns, let's do 3. That's fine. So you already have a rubric. Let's do essay rubric 2015. All right, so enter criteria below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say grammar. Simple as that. And I would not, you can word it however you want to. Not well written. Average style. No issues. Perfect grammar. Simple as that. And then you can add another row if you want to. So you just go over here and you go add a row. Like that. And I can say style. And then I can add, and then you can just keep plugging in stuff like that. So let's just do one more. Style, no style is present. Average style, great style. And then I want to preview this. I'll save it. And I'm going to print export it. I can look at it in Word. And there it is. So I've made a rubric inside, and it's really easy to do. I don't have to make these tables. Real simple to do. And I can save that, and I can attach those in my lesson plans. So this is how you make rubrics. I'm going to go down here to, right, so, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. I don't want that one just clogging up. So if you go to lesson plans, units, and rubrics, that's what the rubric wizard is. Really, that's worth the money. So you don't have to build any more rubrics through Microsoft Word. And if you built rubrics through Microsoft Word, you saw how you have to edit the tables and edit the timelines. It becomes just a big ordeal. The next thing, and this is what you'll be doing this for, is the lesson builder. The lesson builder is what I would do. So what you'll say, let's do, and remember our Cold War one, we had, our day one was the end of World War II. So this is our Cold War. So it's going to ask you to select a format. You can do the standard base lesson or you can do the basic lesson. Either one does not matter. Trust me, it doesn't matter. Let's just do the basic lesson. Let's create a new one. So now we are in the lesson plan builder of TaskStream. So what we did was we went lesson plan unit rubric and we hit create new and we did a standard basic one, real simple. You'll see look what happens. It goes author, Lyndon Ratliff. Subject. You don't have to type anything in. You click on subject and you go, okay, history. Save and close. Topic or unit study. It's going to ask you, well, what do you want to type in? Let's do the Cold War. Day one. Done. Grade level. Look what you get to do. You can get to pick what grade level you want. Objective. Now, under objective, what I do is this is wherever I write my. Now, with that said, some of these blocks you might have trouble with, but let's do the objective one right here. Real simple. Objective. The student will draw the Berlin Wall with 100% accuracy. And then you can make this fancy if you want to. You can bold this up, highlight these, and you can do whatever you want to. You can italicize those. It doesn't really care. But if you do it like that, there it is right there. I don't like the bold. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to unbold it. There it is. So there's my objective for the day. Summary, you can write whatever you want to. You can say, this is day. There it is. Now, if you go in the learning context, it goes, how does this activity fit into the general context of what you're teaching? Describe the larger unit, or consider the activities that came before and after. You can leave this blank if you want to, or if you don't want to, you don't have to. What I would put is, this is day one. The students just learned about World War II. They need to come out of today's lecture discovering we have a new enemy, and that is communism. So that's my goal for this class. Communism. There it is. Now, procedure is what we just discussed. You can do this however you want to. You could say number one. Number 1, lecture. And then you would continue and continue and continue and continue and continue. However you want to do that. Now, this is the only thing that's going to be kind of different. The word differentiated instruction. Differentiated instruction is whenever you change your instruction to remediate or enrich another student. So what I would do is I'd go differentiated instruction, bold, underline, remediation. It didn't bold and it did not underline, but it will now when I do that. So, and then I would put the student will, it won't stop underlining, and then I'll go from there. So, I'm going to write my objectives for those. See if I can get that to quit bolding and underlining. There it is. So now under procedure, I would also go here and put for each day. And then you'd plug those in underneath those. So what we've done is we've got our objectives. I've got my daily objective here, and I have my differentiated instruction, my remediation objective, which we're going to write here, and my enrichment objective written here. Sample student products, you can add, see this right here says, a sample student project gives others a model of what's required or expected. This would be your answer keys. Now, you would say, well, how do I attach something? Right up here, attachments. You can add attachments to this as much as you want to, and that is so cool about stuff like that. So, let's see, save and close. Collaboration. The activity requires students to collaboratively or be individually. The student will work individually. So that's showing that we're not doing group work real easy. Time allotment. This activity will take 1 class period of 50 minutes. Oops, I messed that up. So I don't have to go back and delete it, or I can just change my whole thing. Authors, comments, reflections, wherever you want to add to this. Instructional materials. If you have a PowerPoint, if you have a Prezi, you can put the Prezi address here. You can attach this right here. And you can also say attachments are, and then you can list all your attachments. Resources, if you have any text, it says right here, what are you going to be using? How many computers will be required? 1, and then you can just click right there. You can leave this blank if you want to. That's up to you. Now, here is what's really also kind of awesome about the whole task stream component is you now can click here that says standards. And remember, you have the Mississippi State Framework. Up here, we did not put our Mississippi State Framework on our DOK, which you don't have to. But if you click on standards, check this out. View state standards, Mississippi Curriculum Framework 2011. I find my social studies. I scroll down. What's it want? We want United States government. We want U.S. history. And then we're looking at global affairs. We'll use this one right here. And I'm just selecting whatever I want to select. And look at this. Boom. It puts your Mississippi State Framework right there. So you don't have to worry about having all of these Mississippi State Framework here, Mississippi State Framework here, Mississippi State Framework there. Now, if I have different Mississippi State Frameworks per different objectives, then you can just keep adding more up here all you want to. So I just collapse on. Assessment rubrics. You would attach your rubrics here. Also remember that your rubrics can be pulled from, and look at this rubrics right here. You can pull your rubrics from task stream. Any task stream rubric you've created will also be here as well. So I just deleted that one, so I can just put this right here, SA. I don't know what this is, but I say save and close. And you'll notice, look, that rubric's already attached. And that's it. So what you've done is you've created your first day one lesson plan right here. It's titled Day One Lesson Plan and Civil Code War, and that's it. So I'd save and close. Simple as that. It's done. So now I go back to lesson plans and units. I go to unit builder. Now if I ever want to go back to work on that one, I would look at my Code War day one. I forgot what I titled it. That's not it. I titled it End of World War II. There it is. I titled it End of World War II. Sorry. So that's my day one right there. End of World War II. And I can always go back in here and I can edit as much as I want to. I can go back. And if I ever want to close task stream, then I log back in. I go to Lesson Plan Builder. And End of World War II is always there. Now, here's where we can differ on how to make a unit plan. Now, what you can do is, now you know how to use the Lesson Plan Builder in task stream. So now we have, well, how do I make a unit plan? Now remember what a unit plan is 10 days. So you can do either two ways you can do this. One is you can build your lesson plans all 10 days in the Lesson Plan Builder. You can. Or you can go to the unit builder and start your unit. So let's do the Code War. Now you'll have to do this no matter what. The Code War. TS Basic Unit Plan Create. Now, it's going to say, it asks the same questions. So this is the shell of the unit plan. Subjects, history, and you just plug in all this information as before. You're creating your unit plan. Time required. Objectives. The student will understand the causes of the Cold War with 70% accuracy. So done. All right, now here's where I can add my lesson plans. I go to Learning Activities. Now I'm going to go back. Add a new learning activity. You click on that. Now here's what it says. Do you want to create a lesson? And this is the lesson plan builder that you did. Or do you want to add? So I'm going to pull End of World War II. This is the lesson plan that I've already created in the lesson plan builder. Add to unit. All right. Accept and return to unit. Done. So what I've done is I have pulled my End of World War II lesson plan from my lesson plan builders. Now, this is where I said you can do either or. You can build your 10 days of lesson plans in your lesson plan builder. Or you can, now look, let's say I want to add day 2, learning activities, add a new learning activity, and let's say I want to just create day 2. So I would say day 2, I forgot what day 2 was. So let's just do Eisenhower and Kennedy. And it's going to say select a format. I can do the basic lesson plan. And now watch this when I hit create lesson. This looks just like the lesson plan builder. In fact, I'm in the lesson plan builder right here. So that's how that works. So you can do either that, really easy to do, and then you would have to, you just go back to all lessons if you want to, and you can go back to the unit. So if you do the unit plan builder, so I've got the Cold War here, and you'll notice that I've got day 2 here. Anytime you go into the learning activities and you click add a new one, and you go here into this box, that box will take you to the lesson plan builder. So you can do either one you want to. So what you end up having is, by the time you're done with all this, you actually have a nice unit plan that you don't have to worry about being 15 or 20 pages long on Microsoft Word, and you'll actually have all of your you'll have one unit page. That's all you have, and you have all of your, you'll have 1, 2, all the way to 10 right here. Real easy, real simple to do. And then on your, and I can just click on each day, and I go, okay, let's look at day 1, and I pull that up, and I go, okay, boom, 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 real simple. So TaskStream is just a great tool to use, and that's what TaskStream is. So hopefully you now see what it is. Real simple. Let's talk about your homework. Your homework assignment was a 3-day mini unit. So what I want you to do is do day 1, day 2, day 3 in TaskStream. So all you got to do for this homework assignment is this. Go to Lesson Plans, Units, and Rubrics. Go to Unit Builder. And create new 3-day mini unit plan. Select a format, TS Basic, create new. And then fill this out and then add 3 lesson plans to this. Now this can be on any topic you want to. Do your brainstorming, pick your 3 days, how you want to do it. So if I want to do 3 days, I can do 3 days on 9/11. I can do 3 days on the Gulf War, 3 days on any topic I want to do, and I want to do 3 lesson plans. Well, same thing as always. You have your remediation, your objectives, real easy. So it's getting, now this is real simple, easy to do. Now watch this. Let's go to, now let's say, well, how am I going to send this to someone? How am I going to send this lesson plan to anybody, this unit? So let's say you've got this entire unit done. Just pretend that this entire unit is done. You click on Generate Link URL, and there it is. And you just copy this. And when you go to My Courses and you submit it, you just submit this link. I click on this and it goes, and I go straight to your unit. Simple as that. Or if you want to make it even more complicated, you can click on Email this. It says select to whom, and you would just type in my name. And there I am. Click on that, save and close, and it's going to actually send you a copy. So you can do either one. Now, if you email this to me, it goes to my communication tab here. So you'll actually see that. Like if I click on communication and I go to Message Center, these are all the people who have emailed me lesson plans throughout me using TaskStream. So you can do either one if you want to. I would advise, my best recommendation for you would be to just go ahead and generate a link, copy that link, and put that whenever you do your submission in your comment on my courses for your homework assignment. So we're looking at a 3-day unit. So this has been a very fun lecture, a very lengthy lecture, but I've walked you through. Let's look back. We looked at the lesson plans everybody created. We started with the goal of just looking at one. We ended up looking at 3 or 4. We broke everybody's lesson plans down, and we looked at the good and the bad, and we can fix those. The second thing we looked at is what is a unit plan and how you need to brainstorm that. And the third thing is we looked at TaskStream and how you can make this so much easier. The last thing I'll say is when I was in college in '96 at Mississippi State University, we did unit plans, 10-day unit plans in a binder. So you had to have day 1 and everything, and that became over 100 pages long. TaskStream makes everything so much cleaner. If you find a grammatical mistake, you don't have to go back and retype something. You can just go right into TaskStream and work it. So buy your TaskStream account, work these, and make this very easy. This is so much simple. So easy when you look at TaskStream. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email, and I hope you have a good day.